of the pit lane to start the race, or to join this warm-up lap from the pit lane. So he could have been sitting at the end of the pit lane for all we know. We've seen Pirovano there riding around number 1 on the Alstari Suzuki.
And Christian Kellner, number 22, one of the men who did crash in one of 2 incidents.
Merigali is another non-starter. He will definitely not be starting.
That's number 5, Massimo Merigali then, not amongst our original list of casualties. Maybe it's something to do with the fact he qualified well down, or his bike ain't working. He was back on the 6th row, was Massimo.
Yeah, not a normal position for him. He's normally one of the front runners, in fact 5th in the championship last year.
And he's a factory Yamaha man. He's the Belgarda Yamaha rider, along with Bontempi, who also qualified very badly.
It would seem the factory Yamahas are struggling a lot more than the private Yamahas. You've got a factory supported team in DC Jeans with Ruben Zaus, who's obviously pole position, and his teammate is well up there as well.
That's Wilco Zeelenberg on the other blue bike going through, number 8.
Cost apparently will race. He's obviously was sitting in the pit lane ready to join the warm-up lap, so Cost should have filled that gap on the grid, so we shall see a full grid.
First question. Now watch them coming through. Number 35 there, going through Christoph Koga. And right, let's check out the front row. On the right will be the blue Yamaha, number 23 of Ruben Zaus. Number 3, Stefan Chambon, has moved up a place because McLeod isn't there. And Ian McPherson, number 12, now starts from the 2nd slot on the grid. There's Perry Reba, number 17, to the right of your picture. James Toseland, his teammate, number 52, in the middle. Those are the 2 Castrol Honda riders. Let's see who else we can spot for you. The yellow bike there, he looks like Paolo Casoli. As we pan forward down the grid and look at the masked face of the pole sitter, Ruben Zaus. One more man.
William Cost coming to form up the last person on the grid, so he obviously did start out the pit lane. Maybe they were just fixing his bike.
That would be a good call, Scott. We have a green flag at the back. We've got our fingers crossed for a clean race. Nice start, not from Pirovano though, from the front row. Fabrizio again gets a bad start. Number 12 is McPherson, number 33 is Zaus, and number 3, Chambon, is the 3rd man.
Zaus hits the front again like on his previous start. Doesn't get off the line very quickly, but makes it to the first turn. McPherson in line there in 2nd place.
Great stuff from Ian McPherson, the Glaswegian. That's the green Kawasaki, the soulless factory Kawasaki. The field streams through. Everyone's still on 2 wheels and pushing and barging in the back of the field. But I think we've got a clean race. Where's Pirovano?
Chambon is 3rd, Zeelenberg is 4th.
And that's Christian Kellner, I think number 22 is next along on the black and red Yamaha. Another semi-official one entered by a Yamaha Deutschland, but Zaus leads on the DC Jeans Yamaha. There's Pirovano on the outside.
So obviously made a pretty bad start.
And Perry Reba, there he is, number 17, leading the Castrol Honda Challenge.
Followed by Paolo Cassi, number 4 on the yellow Ducati.
That's the factory Ducati, the Ducati performance bike, teammate of Corsa and Fogarty.
In fact, running along all the rumble strips just then.
A look at Zaus, he's as wild as ever. Number 8, Zeelenberg, the teammate of Zaus, looking very calm in 4th place.
Yeah, Zaus can never be accused of exactly looking calm, but he was pulling away in the first start, and he's performing the feat again.
Well, the paddock was amazed by the fact that Ruben stayed on 2 wheels all through qualifying.
Oh, Chambon sticking it in sideways, a super motard expert. Throughout the winter he's been winning every super motard race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's awesome on one of those things. It's number 3 we're talking about, the Frenchman, Stefan Chambon.
With exactly the same performance, reversing it into the turn.
He's the man who won here last year, number 3. 23, Ruben Zaus. 12, Ian McPherson. 3, Stefan Chambon. 8, Wilco Zeelenberg. 22, Christian Kellner. And 17, Perry Reba, doing a lot better than qualifying on the Castrol Honda.
Yeah, after the first lap, already Ruben Zaus on the new Yamaha R6 has started to make it a little bit of a break. His teammate there in 4th. The pack of 4 have moved away from the rest of the pack.
Right, well, we are hearing now that the World Superbike race will happen very soon after the finish of this Supersport race, but we can tell you a row is brewing out there because Carl Fogarty's good start that we saw, there's a lot of talk about him jumping the start and talk of protests. But I assume, Scott Smart, you know the rule book better than me, far too late to put a protest in.
Well, strange things have happened, but I would assume that by now the time would have expired.
I agree. Zaus, McPherson, Chambon, Zeelenberg, the front 4 now starting to pull away. Remember, number 3, the bloke you're looking at on the Suzuki, Stefan Chambon was the winner here last year.
Yeah, some of the people that crashed earlier on in the first start, not performing quite so well. William Cost down in 13th position, and Pirovano not up with the leaders at the moment.
Yeah, he had a bad start off the front row, the number one man. Now then, Ian McPherson. We have been lacking a Brit up the front of Supersport for the past year or two, and Ian McPherson's bike, 199 kph. Look at McPherson! Look at McPherson! The Scot goes to the front. Great move.
Yeah, incredibly neat overtaking manoeuvre. I think it's where we saw Corsa pass Haga. It's obviously one of the few places you can make a clean pass on this circuit.
Well, the Superbike team Kawasaki team, had a bad time. This'll cheer their whole day up. Ian McPherson leads in Kyalami. Well, that's what we wanted, an Englishman in World Superbike and a Scot, a very tough Glaswegian, I might add, in Supersport. But Ruben Zaus, the boy from Barcelona, the 21-year-old, is right with him. One thing we can say for sure, Scott, Ruben Zaus won't let it lie. Yeah,
Ruben Zaus will pretty well stick to him and try harder and harder and harder until he crashes. One thing about the Kawasaki, we know how it will perform out throughout a whole race because they've got experience with it from the past couple of seasons. The R6, don't know if it's easy on tyres, don't know if it's heavy on fuel. We don't know about the machine yet.
Yes, like the Superbike Yamaha, the R7, the R6, there's another one in fourth place with Zeelenberg, brand new motorbike.
But a very impressive performance for both of these riders here, untested bike, and the bikes look pretty good.
And look at Ruben Zaus right in the wheel track. One thing we can say, he won't faze Ian McPherson, number 12. He told me the other year that he holds all the endurance records at the gym he trains at, and that he beats Jim Moody. Jim Moody would like to argue with this. I don't want to get between them.
Yeah, that's not an argument you want to become involved with. I mean, to be honest, he doesn't know where Zaus is at the moment. It's us.
He doesn't want to know, does he?
Yeah. Zaus's past history, it's probably better not knowing.
I agree with you completely. Ian McPherson, now don't be fooled into thinking this is some sort of easy class because Ian had a tough time last year in British Superbikes. Just 3 rostrum positions. Go back a few more years. Was Zaus attacking on the inside? Zaus is out of control on the inside. But Ian, you go back to the Thunderbike Championship that used to run alongside the Grand Prix for 600s, and Ian was a privateer, a man in a van, with his mate, the mechanic, and he got top 6 finishes.
Yeah, always a front runner. Last season in the British Superbike Championship was a pretty lean season due to a few crashes and just downright bad luck, to be honest.
I think but the year before in British Superbike, Ian had Kawasaki's, I think, first and only win, and he raced and finished in front of his much more illustrious teammate, Terry Reimer.
Yeah, too tall. So, he got the ride at the end of last season. They've been testing since about November last year. I think it's the Harold Eckelbrun team, so it's a very professional outfit. So it's the factory Kawasaki.
And look at Zaus, look at Zaus. Yeah, there he goes. Ruben retakes the lead.
McPherson actually made a little bit of a mistake there. Ran into the corner a little bit too hot and came out on the pretty dirty, I might add, rumble strips, and it didn't allow him to get the power on quite so quickly. So Zaus managed to just drive past him.
Interesting drag race. Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, the top 3 different makes of motorbike.
Yeah, one thing we're missing is a Ducati at the moment.
Yeah, and Paolo and a Yamaha, of course.
Sorry,
I was thinking of the
Hondas.
I was thinking of the Hondas. What am I saying?
Honda's another new machine. The top runners on the Hondas are, of course, William Cost. So he's unfortunately been injured after the first race, so we won't see him at the front probably.
Yes, he was the best qualifier. We saw, by the way, behind Zeelenberg, who is dropping off in 4th place. The next man up is Fabrizio Pirovano, making up for his bad start. Now Stefan Chambon, the other Suzuki rider, now closing in on Ian McPherson. Is Zaus escaping, or can't you say that sort of thing in Supersport racing?
I don't think so. I think Chambon's just sitting there biding his time. He's watching the front 2 guys. They're setting the pace, but probably using their tyres a lot harder than Chambon.
Well, certainly Zaus appears to work his tyres very, very hard indeed. Now, Ian McPherson, 11th last year in the British Superbike Championship. He was putting in fast lap times at every meeting I saw him at, Scott. But he said the confidence went. He didn't have the confidence to, get into the unarmed combat of overtaking. How do you read his mood at the moment?
Yeah, I think confidence isn't a problem. After the pre-season testing he's been doing, he's always been on the pace, and he's certainly not afraid to mix it here.
He certainly isn't, and he got his deal done very, very early last year, didn't he? As you said, he was out testing by about November.
Yeah, he stepped off the Superbike and straight onto the Supersport bike about November, and he was straight down to Jerez.
Looks like he's lining Zaus up now. He's closed right in. Chambon is closed up. They really are in close company, the front 3. Zeeland, look at how different lines there, or what?
think you'll find Wood, one of the wildcard riders, is in about 7th place at the moment, which is a pretty stunning performance. Pirovano, as you said, is starting to bridge the gap and drag with him some of the other riders, maybe up to the front group.
Yeah, behind Pirovano there is Perry Reaver, number 17 on the Castrol Honda, is the one who seems to me to be...
Oh, Chambon!
Oh, take that!
Chambon runs in pretty deep on the brakes and manages to pass McPherson at reasonably quick pace.
But he's let the Spaniard Zout escape there, hasn't he? I think some momentum was lost there by McPherson during that pass.
Zout had maybe a second gap on them at that point, so maybe Chambon's thinking, I want to hang in there just in second place. I don't want to lead, just want to keep an eye out on everybody.
It looks now as if Chambon has got the hammer down, and Ian McPherson is hanging on in there in 3rd place, trying to hang on to Stefan Chambon. Zeelenberg still semi-detached in 4th place. Then the gap Scotty was just talking about. Back to that man, Fabrizio Pirovano, and Perry Reaver. Chambon hits the front. He's got this place weighed up, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's pretty confident around this place. I mean, he didn't put a stunning laps in qualifying, but then he never does. He's never been the best qualifier, but come a race...
Yes.
Which way did he go?
Yeah, he's another tough little guy, Stefan Chambon, a supermotard rider, as you said, the best I've ever seen on one of those hybrid big single-cylinder things on slicks. He is ridiculous. That bird was in the middle of the grid there, you see that? Feathers flying in it. Now, is McPherson dropping off the pace of the front two? Or are there parts of this track? Well, he's closing right up here,
they come out of a slow turn, which is where everybody's quite close to each other, but then it's a big time difference before one person gets on the power. So they spread out along the straight, and then you just see they stack back up in the turn. A bit like a Formula 1 race.
It is a bit, isn't it? And Ruben Zaus is certainly not giving up at all. He's looking to show his front wheel to the Frenchman Chambon every chance he can. McPherson in 3rd, and I'm wondering whether this dice amongst the front 3 is now letting Wilco Zeelenberg just get back in touch in 4th place. 3 seconds between the teammates in 1st and 5th.
Yeah, as we can see, Pirovano's bridging the gap.
That's a worry for everybody in the front 4.
Yeah, he's experienced enough. He won't push too hard. He'll just plug away at it, maybe taking, well, as you see, he's taking about 3/10 out of the lap. So he'll slowly plug away till he gets there. Reaver has unfortunately been dropped by Pirovano.
Obviously couldn't cope with the pace of Fabrizio Pirovano. McPherson goes way to the inside. The other two sweep in on much wider lines.
Yeah, McPherson having a look there, but there was no way he was coming through. Had to get it stopped up pretty sharpish.
He's hanging on in there in 3rd. Zeelenberg has definitely found some sort of second wind in 4th place. He's closing. He's going to have to, because Pirovano is getting larger and larger, and there's out again.
Same corner again. I've seen just about every overtaking manoeuvre there on the brakes into the tie right-hander.
Yeah, obviously a favourite overtaking place here at Kyalami. That's down the bottom, I think, of the Vodacom Bowl, that corner. And now they come back up towards the start-finish straight. And look at Zeelenberg is definitely on the case.
Pirovano's made an awful lot of ground in the last lap. He's maybe made another half second on Zeelenberg, who's actually also caught the group with 3rd place again.
It seems to me, Scott, that overtaking place, that favourite place at that slow corner, ruins a lot of people's momentum.
Yeah, you come out of the very fast, I think 4th gear left-hander, which sweeps down into a 1st gear right-hander. The leaders pass each other, which holds up the guy in 3rd place, which is great for the people in 4th and 5th.
Yeah, James Toseland running in 11th place, right with the 1997 Supersport champion Paolo Casoli on the factory Yamaha. Now then, Ruben Zaus, the 21-year-old, the Catalan from Barcelona, putting in another hot couple of laps, stretching them out. Chambon, number 3, is still in 2nd place. 3rd place, number 12, the Scotsman, Ian Fearless McPherson, and looking like any confidence he's lacked over the past 12 months is well and truly back with him.
Yeah, we've got actually a couple of superstars quite a long way down the field. Bontempi, factory Yamaha, is in 18th place. We've got David Checker, Carlos Checker's brother, in 25th place, and Migliorati down there in 31st. So
his team have changed from Ducatis to Suzuki's for this year, Migliorati and Yves Breguet. And you have guessed, well, not guessing, I think you're better informed than that, Scott, that people like the Belgada Yamaha team haven't... Oh, look at McPherson charging there.
That fast left-hander, when you've got somebody in front to gauge your speed, you can just pull in on them.
Got him, great movement at first. The aerial shot showed that brilliantly.
Seems to be a good example there of where it's easier to follow somebody than it is to lead someone.
And you wouldn't have said Ruben Zaus is liable to be the best leader of a race in the world, would you?
Not exactly. I think the theory there, when you're going around a flat-out corner like that, is guy in front stops falling off, I'll try for 1k more.
An interesting way to earn your living. Zeelenberg still in fourth, as you can see, just in the back of your picture. Pirovano is on his case.
Yeah,
Watch number 1. Ian McPherson, number 12, splits the Yamaha of Ruben Zaus and the Suzuki of Stefan Chambon. And I can see McPherson growing in stature lap by lap here, Scott.
Yeah, obviously, as we've said before, he wasn't exactly racing last year in the Superbike Championship in Britain. First race he's done, he's mixing it with them.
And with some tough guys. They don't come tougher than Stefan Chambon for a start. Zaus, I've always had down in my notebook as a complete crazy, but he's proving me wrong and staying on the thing.
And he looks reasonably tidy as well, which is even more surprising.
He's tidier than he was in qualifying, because he was wild, absolutely wild in qualifying. Fastest lap to Ian McPherson, 1:48.541.
I think we might find a problem here with Pirovano back in fifth. He's being held up a little bit by Wilco Zeelenberg in fourth place. He needs to make a pass quickly, otherwise his front three, well, as you can see, they're getting away.
Good point, Scott, and that is a new lap record, by the way, to Ian McPherson.
And I think we just saw Pirovano sneaking up the inside into the hairpin at the back.
Keep your eye on the man in fourth place. Look for number 1, Fabrizio Pirovano, who's 23. Ruben Zaus, the Spaniard on the DC Jeans Yamaha Dutchley. Look at McPherson closing in here. Look at McPherson!
The Kawasaki certainly seems to have an awful lot more pace than the Yamaha.
What a move! That's where he got Chambon.
The Yamaha's a pretty undeveloped machine. The Kawasaki's always been renowned for being quite a quick bike, and it certainly showed the legs there.
Well, Ian McPherson himself told me last year he lost a bit of confidence. He's got it back in spades, and he's brave as well through that fast section. I assume if he makes a pass there, he can make it stick to the end of the lap.
Yeah, it's fast left-hander into tight right-hander, first gear corner, then down into the very tight chicane, and then it leads to a very small straight onto the tight left-hander onto the start-finish straight. I think you're right, Julian. If you make the pass there, you can be really wide in the next three corners.
You have to make a mistake to let them back past. Look at fourth place. You're right, Scotty. Pirovano has got past Wilco Zeelenberg.
So now we're just waiting to see how long it'll take him, I think, to get to the front.
But I think the point you made about Zeelenberg held him up for a long time might have ruined his chances of getting in touch. Now, one thing we can say, Ruben Zaus, he is going to have a go anywhere he can at Ian McPherson.
Yeah, mate, Ruben Zaus's bike doesn't look quite as quick top speed as the other two bikes he's racing with. So for him, it's probably better to be in front of them, and then you can hold them up a little bit.
Last time round, the gap between the leader and Pirovano increased. That is the lap that McPherson was at the front. And look at Zaus, he's riding pillion. Ruben Zaus is going to attack.
Ruben Zaus is practically wearing Ian McPherson.
Not a pleasant thought. And Chambon, it looks to me, is having a bit of trouble keeping on the pace. What's Zaus doing there? Can he cut it? Can't cut it tight. No. I thought he was going to try and cut it tight inside him for a minute. Scott, I was having out failure.
I think Ruben Zaus doesn't really worry what he tries.
I think that is exactly the point. Come a last lap, you want to be half a dozen bike lengths at least in front of Ruben Zaus. Because if you're within a couple of bike lengths and he can't make the pass there, that's his favourite place. Look at McPherson's lap times. Dropped into the mid-48s over the past two laps. Is that impressive or what?
Yeah, he's found half a second a lap, and he's starting to... Well, Chambon looks like he's now struggling to remain with the front two runners.
Definite gap there, significant gap between the front two.
Pirovano, though, doesn't look like he's closing the gap pretty quickly.
Right, so maybe Stefan Chambon has settings have worn his tyres out. Maybe Fabrizio, the crafty old devil. As you said, he's just been happy to take a few tenths off them, lap by lap, not panicking, watching his pit board, doing the sums.
Chambon's bike was moving around an awful lot into that the very fast first turn.
Yep, what are we? On lap 10 of 23, so Pirovano has time. Pirovano has time.
And when he arrives, the others need to be very nervous.
I'm nervous just thinking about it, Scott. I remind you, this is the first ever Supersport race with World Championship status. There's a thing to go in the history books.
Yeah, Pirovano's probably the most experienced. Well, he's got an awful lot of superbike experience. He's the most experienced World Supersport rider. So I think for him it'd be another mark in his record book.
I think so. Oh, Zaus has gone! Zaus has gone!
Really unfortunate crash there. It looked like it just touched, and he held it for an awful long time. Pretty sorry to see him go. That was,
I think that's punishment not fitting crime there, isn't it? Ruben, don't give yourself a hernia, mate. I'd leave it there.
Yeah, pretty fast crash there. It just tucked on him. Real shame, that.
By tucked you, let's explain to non-motorcyclists. He touched it down in the front end, just turned.
The front your front tyre just started to slide. You put your knee down to try and hold it up. You can just see it here in slow motion.
Yeah, the front end's gone. There.
It's pretty sudden crash.
Oh,
He did pretty well to hold it, and that's a real pity.
oh dear. Oh, I'm getting rather excited by this Supersport race, preempting things again. Well, I must say, here we go again, Scott. Tell me where the front end goes.
It's pretty far around the corner, actually. You can just see it. Maybe something touches on the bike. Maybe the fairing or something had touched down. I mean, he was in the turn pretty hot.
Yeah, Yanagawa at Monza last year, actually touching something down on the curb and jacking the front wheel off.
In fact, he picks the tyres up off the ground, which is not good for grip.
And that gives Ian McPherson, with more than half of the race to go, a commanding lead. Hey, we saw Carl Fogarty do this morning. Let's hope, fingers crossed, for Ian McPherson, who I know a lot of people, and not just the Scotsman I asked, like Neil McKenzie and Steve Islop. McPherson
setting the pace again. He's taking another 2/10 off of his previous best lap, so half second quicker than the rest. The crash of Zaus held up Chambon, so Chambon's nearly 3 seconds behind, but his teammate Pirvano is right with him.
That looks like Zeelenberg with the attentions of the two German Yamaha riders.
Yeah, Zeelenberg's fallen back into the grasp of this battle.
Yeah, Jörg Teukart, number 21, Christian Kellner, number 22. Kellner was the better qualifier. Kellner, I think, twice a German Supersport champion, so no mug.
Kellner has the disadvantage, though, of having to be picked out of the dirt after the first start.
And Teukart goes to the inside. He was a very good dirt rider, you know, Jörg Teukart, good enough to get a medal in the International 6 Days Enduro. So he's
just in the background there, you can see James Tozer fighting his Honda around the circuit.
Yeah, the Castrol Honda boys reckon they were suffering from not testing here in winter, and were definitely, you know, one step behind the rest. And again, that's number 51. We're looking at Russell Wood. That's not Wilco Zeelenberg. I was conned by the colour of the motorbike. It's another Yamaha painted blue. Local man Russell Wood, number 51, a veteran, well, Grand Prix veteran, Superbike veteran, everything veteran. And he knows his way around here on the National Yamaha, leading the two official Yamaha Deutschland bikes.
Yeah, just showing that track knowledge is worth an awful long time.
As Captain told us there, this is the 6th place battle. Pirovano and Wilco Zeelenberg in front of these three.
I would say he's actually holding them up a little bit.
I think you're probably right. And Teukart, having got past his teammate, is now looking, and that is a black flag.
For Wilco Zeelenberg.
A black flag for Wilco Zeelenberg. I assume.
Maybe they can see something we can't. For example, if the bike is smoking or they feel that oil is coming out of it, then they'll call him off the circuit for the safety of the other riders.
Well, I was going to say, we haven't noticed anything, but let's hope here Wilco sees that gets up as... Oh, I thought that Jörg Teukart had got 6th position there. He hasn't.
Yeah, he's all over the back of Wood.
He's certainly
looking for a pace to pass anywhere.
Yes. Let's have a look. McPherson, 3.4 seconds all back. Oh, look at that drag race. Teukart
manages to get a little bit of drive, gets into the next turn. He's a very fast right-hander. Quite hot, but I think you'll now see him start to pull away. It looked like he had but a little bit more speed.
Russell Wood, the local man, going to try and stick with the factory-backed Yamaha. Is that Zeelenberg? Touring? Or is that... It looked like... Here. Oh, look at this. Pirovano up with Chambon. Pirovano right there now with Stefan Chambon. I don't suppose his teammate will fight too hard, but I don't know.
No, I think at this stage in the season there's certainly going to be no team orders. I think Chambon won't make it easy for Pirovano to pass.
Oh, you're right.
For example.
Yeah. Yes, I assumed he'd wave him through.
It would seem a little bit more logical to let Pirovano get into the front, because I think he's got a little bit more speed, so he might be able to drag them up to...
Back up to McPherson, indeed, yes. These are the two Alstare Suzukis, 1st and 3rd in the World Series Supersport Championship last year.
And about 2 foot away from being 1st and 2nd in the World Series.
I was going to say, Stefan Chambon should have 3, but only just written on that number plate, shouldn't they?
Yeah, maybe 2.5.
Yeah, there's McPherson. Now then, we've heard what the black flag is for, Scott.
Stop and go penalties, possibly. It's probably will be a stop and go penalty in that case.
They had the black flag out for him, didn't they?
Looks like it, but we couldn't see the flag.
OK, mate, I'll go for that, because 5 riders, apparently, are going to get penalised for jumping. There's Wilco.
In the stop box. Counts 10, off they go again. Unfortunately, they don't just lose 10 seconds. The amount of time you spend in the pit lane speed limit, you're not allowed to exceed 80 k's in the pit. You lose only 30 seconds.
Yeah, or if you, and of course, if you exceed the speed limit in pit lane.
They
He called in
welcome you
again
back
for a stop and go. Right, that's removed Wilco Zeelenberg from the equation. Pereriba is up to 4th place on the Castrol Honda. That is a major, massive improvement on their showing in qualifying.
McPherson's still setting the pace. I mean, he's pulled out nearly a second on Chambon and Pirvano in 2nd and 3rd places respectively in the last 3 laps.
And
So
he's under the lap record time after time, Ian McPherson. He couldn't have wished for a better debut. Kawasaki, Harold Eccles, the smallest works team in the paddock, smaller than most British Championship teams, but really cleverly managed. As we watch Pirovano.
Pirvano always tries in that position. Maybe he should take McPherson's attempt and try and ride around the outside.
we know Fabrizio's brave enough. But yeah, just saying, this Kawasaki team, a small budget operation, 1 rider only in Supersport, a very, very clever signing by Harold Eckel to pick up Ian McPherson. And of course, Dunlop tyres 1st, 2nd and 3rd, boys.
Yeah, they certainly suit the Supersport bikes. A few years ago it was all Pirellis, and now you see Dunlop are pretty well dominating it.
Let's watch the 2 Alstares Suzuki Corona bikes, formation flying. And Pirovano taking the pit lane approach to the Pennzoil sweep.
Yeah, it looks like he's just dropped back a little bit from Chambon to regroup almost and then have another go at getting past Chambon.
To stop and go for Christophe Kogan, the Frenchman on bike number 35, the BKM Racing team out of Belgium. So expect to see him in pit lane. Stefan just checks who's there, as if he didn't know.
Yeah. It would have told him on his pit board exactly how far away he is.
And of course, as you say, Scott, there's no reason to issue team orders of any sort in the first race of the season. There's McPherson, here's the race on the track. This is a bit like the Superbike. The leader's clearing off. Our fight is for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, unfortunately we've had a crash, a few stop and goes, and it's really upset the race.
It has, hasn't it? I mean, losing Ruben Zaus did really remove something of this race. I thought he was unlucky. I thought he looked a lot smoother today than he did in qualifying.
I think it was a very unfortunate crash. It was just, well, it's that one final millimetre that does it.
And Ruben Zaus's style is to tread as close as possible to that final millimetre all the time. Ian McPherson, Kawasaki number 12, leads Pirovano on Suzuki number 1.
And once again, the same position.
Place.
And he's not going to make the pass.
Is he going here then?
Going up the inside. Yes.
Ah, that's it. That's it, surely.
Seemingly the one passing place for the Supersport race.
Chambon immediately checked if anybody else was coming up behind him, then tucked into the slipstream of his teammate, the reigning champion Fabrizio Pirovano.
Right, now we've got a little under half distance to go. 10 laps remaining.
Can he get him? Has Pirovano been held up for too long?
I don't think it's made it easy for him. The gap is about 4 seconds at the moment, which is second lap.
After second lap, yeah.
To give himself a good chance of getting past.
Yes, 3.3 seconds to lead. Now, if you just tuned in, expecting to see Carl Fogarty leading the second race today in the World Superbike Championship, relax, you're watching a Scotsman leading the first round of the World Supersport Championship. There was a delay because of a crash. This race was restarted after a long delay, and the Superbikes will be back as soon as possible after this race.
Yeah, the Superbike's going to restart the moment this one finishes. Unfortunately, the Supersport races have got a little bit strung out now. Ruben Zaus, one of the early fighters for the lead, crashed, which held Stefan Chambon up there, number 3. So let Pirovano catch up with his teammate Chambon. Pirovano is now starting to go after the leader, but I think he might not have enough time.
Zeelenberg, the man who has had a stop-and-go penalty for jumping the start, has been into pit lane, out again, currently in 16th place. So Wilco could pick a few points up if he perseveres.
Yeah, a little bit further down the field, you'll find that the riders are grouped a little bit closer together. There's a reasonable battle for 4th place, and then looking back, there's a good battle for 6th. So if Zeelenberg can get back up to speed pretty quickly, he can pick through the groups quite quickly. Obviously, he's not going to catch up.
I'll tell you what, Scott, you look at that man in 26th place, Cristiano Migliorati. Last year here, he was the lap record holder, led most of the race. He got a stop and go here last year. So in Supersport, things are so close. My mathematics tells me that it was only a fraction, an absolute infinitesimal fraction, over 3 seconds, separated pole and 35th place on this grid.
Yeah, Supersport racing is always close. There's always a big field trying to qualify for the race. Makes it very close racing. The bikes, you're not allowed to do as much to them as you are allowed to do to a Superbike. So they're based on your road bikes that you can go and buy.
And they run on treaded tyres.
Yeah, which they're very close to race tyres, I
Yeah.
must say.
Yes.
Basically race tyres with slots in, but...
Yes, but that's, but they are road legal tyres. Allegedly, Your Honour. That's what the
Road
championship
tyres.
regulations say, Scott. It must be true. 4 seconds, the lead now that McPherson has over the formation flying Suzuki's. Well, Pirovano might have got past his teammate, but he's not exactly pulled away from him, and he isn't closing in on Ian McPherson.
No, Zaus's crash allowed McPherson to get a bit of a break, and he's managed to extended that to 4 seconds, and he's held it at 4 seconds for the last 5 laps. So I think
Stefan Chambon starting to look a trifle ragged now, Scott. He seems to be missing his markers a bit.
as we said in the first few laps, he was riding very hard with Ruben Zaus, and
Stop and go penalty. This is Christoph Kogan. That's a quick 10 seconds.
yeah, that was obviously the very 10 seconds.
It must just stop and go. No 10 seconds, maybe. I must read the rule book again. Back with the Suzukis. I remind you, this is 2nd and 3rd place we're looking at. Pirovano is still very much on the pipe, isn't he?
Yeah, Pirovano is trying very hard. He's got the back end of the bike moving around. I don't think Chambon's going to come back at him. Pirovano certainly had a little more pace than Chambon, although Chambon's not going to give up.
Yeah, well, Pirovano, what an experienced rider he is. Let's just underline what calibre of rider Ian McPherson is beating. Pirovano won 11 World Superbike races. He was 2nd in the World Superbike Championship back in 1989, I think. He said without reaching for his rule book. He rode over 170 World Superbike races. He has been a champion at this level, been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
And he's in fact reigning champion at the moment.
As the #1 plate tells you, and he's 4.1 seconds behind the man from Glasgow, Ian McPherson.
McPherson, every time we see him in the shot, riding incredibly smoothly, got this race completely under control.
Yeah, it's going to have to be an act of God or something really dreadfully unlucky. It's going to have to happen to Ian McPherson now for him to lose the race. And he's done this so cleverly. He's 30 years old now, Ian. He has an enormous amount of racing experience under his belt. And he's coped with his elevation to works rider status so well, hasn't he? He's such a level-headed guy.
Yeah, I still think he's fairly hands-on. He gets pretty involved with the team. It's paying off. They've been doing a lot of testing.
Number 43, Nerino Brignola, the next man getting the stop-and-go board there, Scott.
Yeah, it's a pretty busy stop-and-go box this race.
There's more to come, because we were told that there were going to be 5 of them they were going to bring in. Again, it took them a while to do that, didn't it? The decision took a while.
At least they managed to do it in the race with this race, as opposed to the Super Right race.
Yes, indeed. We're still awaiting developments on that row about whether Carl Fogarty jumped the start, but I can't think of any reading of the rules that had let something happen this long after the event. But I'm not able to recite the rule book off by heart, so what do I know?
I think we're going to see pretty well a procession now until the end of the race from these 3 riders.
Well, we now start keeping our fingers crossed that the gremlins don't attack Ian McPherson's ZX6 Kawasaki motor, don't we?
Yeah, as Carl Fogarty did say, McPherson is now going to be wishing he had really big earplugs, because he's going to be hearing every noise.
Yeah, every rattle, every different
cough.
noise. You're going to imagine it's something about to break. You're going to think you've got an oil leak. You're going to worry as the 2 Suzukis drag race their way down the front straight into the Rotanda and then into Pennzoil Curve. Did I see a yellow flag, or was that the trackside banner?
Possibly a stop-and-go person coming out the pit lane. They will show yellow flag.
Thank you, because obviously nobody hanging around at the side of the track, picking a motorcycle out of the sand traps. And my paranoia is starting to crank up lap by lap now. Perry Reaver, 4th place, you know, given what happened in qualifying.
Yeah, a pretty good effort. I mean, that's the first of the Hondas, but 15 seconds behind the leader.
That's not so clever. The team did say that they were suffering through not testing here, that their air scoop design was very inefficient and they just could not get oxygen into the airbox. Does that ring true with you?
Yeah, possibly. It's quite a high altitude track, and I know that it's got very thin air, so most of the bikes have a bit of a problem here. I think they have problems with cooling, and they have problems with getting simply enough air into the engine to make it run well.
And just like, hello, is Chambon looking at the inside of his teammate? No, just different lines into the long left-hander. 43, that'll be our chum, Nerino Brignola, the Italian on the factory bimotor.
I think at this point Chambon is just having a look at different places where he can attempt it on the last lap.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it? So that's another stop and go. Here we are, Chambon still shadowing his teammate. Well, in the super bikes, the man in second actually had the job in hand and was able to pull away in the last couple of laps. Are we going to see the same thing here? We ask ourselves, and I haven't got a clue, but I'm inclined to agree with you that Chambon has a plan.
Yeah, Chambon is just hanging on in there, trying and planning on something, but I think it'd be pretty bad form if he managed to wipe out his teammate.
It would be bad form on all sorts of fronts, although you could sell tickets for a fight between these two little devils, couldn't you? Now, there's a long gap back, as you can see, nobody in sight. Perry-Reaver fourth on the Honda. And let's remind ourselves that that Honda, the F4 CBR 600, is a brand new... Oh, dear me, I thought he had it there again.
Yeah, Chambon having another little look up the inside there. Not aggressively enough to actually make the pass, but just looking for the future.
Now we're dropping back down. That looks like Paolo Casoli going over the line. No, it wasn't. Number 32. David De Gea, 53 there. Brad Anassis, the local man, tied up with number 34, Yves Brigay.
And in the background we can just see Wilco Zeelenberg. As we said, if he gets going again quickly, he can pull back some of the points he's lost after his stop and go.
Yeah, so as you said, it's a bit closer. There is a fight or two going on downfield. World Championship points at stake. David De Gea, number 32, number 25, William Costes, another victim of the stop and go box. 53 is local man Brad Anassis. As you can tell from the colour of that bike, another Kawasaki. And he is in some serious traffic, unlike the leader on a Kawasaki, Ian McPherson. This is the battle for 11th place, so 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Zeelenberg has 2 points at the moment for 14th place.
Yeah, and it's quite possible in the next few laps he can make it up to 11th place where Cost is. Cost, obviously, our gravel trap explorer from the first start.
Yves Brigay, number 34, you saw him last year on a Ducati. There he is, the hardest riding man out there, just behind the number 25 Honda of William Costes. Brigay's team on Suzuki's this year for the first time.
Yeah, obviously they're having a little bit of trouble adapting to the machines.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it? Because Yves Brigay should be up with the fast boys at the front, not fighting for the last couple of World Championship points on offer. Number 34 we're talking about. The man who had 7 crashes in a row last year in Supersport World Series. Oh, is that Zeelenberg looking at an Anassis? It is.
Yeah, Zeelenberg looking to get back any points he can.
Oh, there's a couple, one more point, sorry, down there. And Zeelenberg, a man who has won a 250 Grand Prix. What was Pirovano doing there?
What looks like he's adjusting something.
Clutch. Did I see smoke? There's Chambon on his own.
And Pirovano.
Yeah, look at that, that's smoke.
Pirovano's bike looks like it's about to expire.
What's he going to do? He's trying to make his mind up. I hope it's not dropping oil anywhere. That looked like oil smoke to me.
Yeah, something's burning. Maybe the seal where the sprocket leaves the engine, the output shaft seal, maybe has blown.
And that looked like Pirovano looking back to see, I should think, Perry-Reaver.
What a pity, after such a strong showing. He crashed in the first start, picked the bike back up, made a pretty poor start, came all the way through to second place.
Well, he's not getting out of the way. It's Perry-Reaver coming up and looking for a rostrum. That bike of Pirovano's.
Actually, he's looking for some racetrack through the smoke, I think.
That's it. Now there is Perry-Reaver. He's got the 2 German Yamaha men closing in on him. So these guys are now fighting for I wish Fabrizio would get that thing off the track.
Actually, Fabrizio, his bike is smoking through the exhaust. It's not coming from anywhere else. So maybe something inside the engine has started to die.
Yes.
Maybe it's broken a rod. I mean, the Astari Suzukis are probably the best prepared bikes in the paddock.
Well, the size, there's 34 employees on that team. It's a massive team. Here are the Germans again, the German Yamaha boys, formation flying. 21, Teukart. 22, Christian Kellner. And there's a rostrum place at stake here now.
Yeah, but we also wait to see whether or not they will black flag Pirovano.
Well, I would, good question. Would you want him black flagged?
If I was another rider, then yes.
And how would you feel if it was you and you were black flagged?
If you're the person black flagging Pirovano, fear is something good for.
Yes, it'll be that enormous guy who works at Flamini. He'll be the man for the job. Perry-Reaver, number 17, 3rd place. 21, Jörg Teukart, 4th. His teammate Christian Kellner, 5th. We have a scrap on for the final rostrum position. And I'll tell you what, the Castrol Honda team could not have dreamed they were going to be in for a rostrum finish after their qualifying.
Yeah, Teukart and Kellner have now actually dropped the wildcard rider Russell Wood.
And we look back and see Pirovano falling, and you see James Toseland on for a top 10 finish. Well, after what was a depressing weekend for the Castrol Honda Supersport team, this is all coming very nicely together. Not as nicely, though, as for Ian McPherson, who has impressing me more and more as this race goes on. We're on lap 21. He's going to start his penultimate lap soon. He's still on the pace, isn't he, Scott? He's still up on the rumble strips, really cracking on. Concentration is the name of the game.
Exactly. At this point in the game, he hasn't seen another rider for the last 10 laps. You can lose your concentration. As soon as you lose concentration, one simple mistake could put you in the dirt.
Yeah, as has happened to our pole sitter and long-time leader, Ruben Zaust. By the way, that Ducati rider you just saw was, I think, the last of our stop-and-go merchants. Penalised for jumping the start as we look down to see poor Christoph Kogan down in 24th. He's not going to get any points. Migliorati way behind his team, Yves Breguet in 26th. This is the leader. Ian McPherson onto his penultimate lap. And I don't think Ian McPherson and Harold Eckel could have dreamed things would go this well. I know they had really good testing over winter. I know they got their stuff sorted out very early in proceedings. But what a great thing to see. And it's, having lost James Whitham and Neil Hodgson from World Superbike last year, isn't it nice that we've got a Brit or two to shout for in Supersport?
Yeah, and certainly neither of them seem to let up. I mean, as we said, he's got a massive lead and he's still extending it.
He is, and it's Stefan Chambon who is in second. As we look at the German ones, James Toseland up to 7th now, as Pirovano disappears, Ziegenberg up to 10th after a stop and go, and he's right on the case of David De Gea. That's impressive for Wilco. They obviously annoyed him.
Yeah, he's got his head back down, and he's going to get plenty of points from it, so it hasn't hurt him as badly as you could have imagined.
No.
James Toseland caught wood over the last 5 or 6 laps, so the last couple of laps he might be able to pick up another position. That would be a very good finish.
That is, getting in the top 10 for James here is excellent. Castrol Honda down in the mouth. There's their lead rider, the Spaniard Pere Riba, heading for the rostrum in 3rd place. Toykart and Kellner shadowing him, waiting for any iota of a mistake.
Yeah, you can't quite see it, but just following these two is the battle with Wood and Toseland.
And just in the background, Russell Wood, the vastly experienced local rider, been a Grand Prix rider, been a Superbike rider. And the Super Sport class here in South Africa is the one, isn't it? The most competitive fed supported one.
Yeah, as we said, it's certainly a little bit more accessible a race because the bikes aren't so expensive.
Pere Riba there, number 17. Looking good. He had a big get-off in qualifying, wrecked the motorbike. There's some reward for the Castrol Honda Super Sport mechanics here. They're going to see it on the rostrum. Ian McPherson on...
Still stretching the throttle cable. He has not backed off at all.
Great to see, isn't it? He's on the final lap now. Ian McPherson, loads of time in hand, 10 seconds. Ian, you can almost push it home from there. This guy has toughed out a very depressing season from 1997, and it is great to see this. Not just Scotland happy about this, but the rest of Britain as well, I would venture to suggest.
Yeah, I mean, it bodes very well for the championship for him. The bike obviously performs well, and he's going to be going to the next race with an amazing confidence.
And of course, that'll be Donington Park, because there is no Supersport race at Phillip Island.
At Phillip Island, yeah.
So a home race. Ian will come to this home round leading the World Championship. You can't say fairer than that, can you?
Yeah, as you said, the World Championship, it's now full world status, but it doesn't go to all the races that the World Superbikes do yet.
Yeah, it doesn't go to Sugo, it doesn't go to Phillip Island. I think if I, off the top of my head now, let's look down the rest of the point scorers as we keep our fingers and everything else crossed for Ian McPherson. Into the left-hander. There's some back markers in the way. They'll only take his eye on the wall. There's Wilco Ziegenberg in a big fight with number 43, Grignola, another stop-and-go merchant.
About to be lapped. You see, McPherson hasn't let off all race.
He hasn't. He's just, as you say, stretched that throttle cable for the last 40 minutes. Great weekend for British motorcycle racing. Through the kink, Ian McPherson. He's got one more corner, the big long left-hander. Take it easy, he can see the flag now. His team can see him. And Ian McPherson, with just a discreet little shake of the fist, takes the flag. What a race.
Takes his racing very seriously. that have been Valentino Rossi. The last 2 laps would have been messing about, but no.
Chambon that's a Jeremy McGrath Supercross stuff, that I think. Whoa, look at Stefan. That is deliberate, by the way. Hang on, what's happened to Perry Reba? Toy Kart gets third.
Reba's gone.
We lost Reba on the last lap. Oh dear. Russell Wood gets fifth. James Toseland gets sixth as his teammate leaves the race on the last lap. There's Perry Reba.
He's obviously been in the dirt somewhere. Looks like he's just dragged that bike back out.
That is, he was heading for the rostrum as well. Stefan Chambon won here last year, happy enough with second place. We won't get this sort of extrovert behaviour, will we, from young Ian McPherson. He's quite a serious character.
Yeah, as you said, until he crossed the line, not even a sign of celebration from him.
And when he did, it was a discreet shake of the left fist. That was it.
It reminds me actually of Rainey from when he was in the height of his career.
Yeah, it's work, and I've done it well. And there's James Toten and Wilco Zeelenberg. James is pleased, and so he should be. The teenager Wilco Zeelenberg says well done, and we add our congratulations to James. Well, 2 British riders in. Now this will be Reba. Unforced.
In the same corner that Zaus went down.
And is that where Reba decked it in qualifying as well?
Yeah, I think it is the very, very fast left-hander out at the back of the circuit.
Well, he's lucky to get that bike upright and back into the back to the pits, isn't he? Oh dear, Perry Reba, that was looking so good until halfway round the last lap.
Well, that is a manoeuvre though he's renowned for. He breaks the first rule of motorcycle racing: rubber down, bubble up.
He sets fastest laps, he sets poles, does Perry, but he dropped it a bit too much. But Ian McPherson, the Glaswegian, there's a note in the history books. The first ever Supersport race with World Championship status has been won by the 30-year-old Scotsman Ian McPherson. And all those Foggy fans out there are busy adding a second name to their banners.
Yeah, I've certainly got something to shout about now. I think you'll see them celebrating early.
I'm looking forward to seeing Harold Eckel as well, the incredibly professional, hard-working boss of the KRT, the Kawasaki Racing Team. He has not had a win for a long time, and there's Gregorio Lavia and Akira Yanagawa. The Superbike boys out to give their great incentive for the Superbike boys as well, eh?
Yeah, I mean, what a performance. He looked pretty tired when he got off the bike then, but...
It's hot out here. Ian is so fit, isn't he? He trains like a complete animal. And there's Harold Eckel, the guy in the glasses, in the shades. Just, again, it's not over-the-top stuff. It's all very Northern European and restrained, isn't it?
Yeah, it's professional, quite simply.
It's a pleasant change to see. I like it. I do like it. And I'm so pleased for Ian McPherson. I know anybody down at Brands Hatch, the British Championship boys down there, will be delighted to see Ian McPherson win. Let's have a word with some other British riders back in the studio with Keith Hewen.
Well, I've got to say, Jeremy and Jamie, that was a superb ride there from Ian McPherson. I've never seen 2 riders rooting for another one quite as much as you guys were. Let's confirm the result first. McPherson from Chambon in second place. He might have been more dramatic on the slowing down lap, but he finished second. Toy Shirt there in third place. Kellner in fourth. Good result for both of them. Russell Wood, the local man, coming through in fifth. Jamie Toseland has got to be happy with sixth place, because it certainly didn't look like that was on before the race started. Kazali is a good scout for Toseland to have had back there in 7th place. And Wilco Zeelenberg, after the many stop-goes, he finishes his day in 8th place. But the man of the meeting for me so far, and that includes up against Carl Fogarty, it's got to be Ian McPherson. He really has ridden brilliantly, Jamie.
Fantastic. Dead pleased for him. Bit of a lump in my throat there, actually. I mean, he just rides 600 so well. I remember thinking back to 96 how well he rode on a second-rate bike, and now he's on a decent bike. Fantastic. Really pleased for him.
Jeremy, you look to me like a man that was riding a race with him at one point, because he didn't look like he was backing it off, even when he got a 10-second lead.
Oh, a little bit worried about that at the end, because, I mean, he was just pulling out every lap. He was pulling a second lap, even right to the very last lap. And, I mean, we were just hoping that he wasn't going to make a mistake, but he obviously wanted to get his point home and win it by as much as he could. So he actually, you know, he won it by 12 seconds in the end. That's a colossal amount.
Well, there you can see it there. It's a 12-second lead for McPherson in race 1 of the Supersport World Championship now, as Julian quite rightly pointed out. Chambon second, Toy Shirt third, Brigay, hang on a minute, we've moved on. Tejea, that caught me out there for a minute. Costes in 10th place, Onassis 11th, Yves Brigay in 12th, quite right. Van Breda in 13th place. Taneji in 14th. Pierre Giorgio Bontempi getting 1 point. He was my tip for winning the championship this year. Just goes to show you how much I know. And Perry Reba remounting that bike again to finish 16th, just outside of the points. Well, what a day. We're trying to get Ian McPherson at the moment for that interview we've been promising you all day long. And here he comes up to the podium. We're going to be speaking with him in just a few moments. But it's good to see yet another Brit. The second World Championship race of the year in motorcycling. It's another British rider on the top, Scotsman Ian McPherson. Doesn't look like he's done much work there either.
He hasn't even broken sweat,
no, he looks dead cool, doesn't he?
Brilliant.
So, and a smile on his face. That's something you only get when he wins races, I think, with Ian.
I think he's thinking about the money.
They're not all like you, Jamie, don't worry.
Hey.
Yes, they are.
Times are hard for me now.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Renter Whittam here in the studio at the moment.
I'll race for food at the minute.
Well, I'll tell you what, at the moment, it's looking like, what with England beating Poland into the dirt yesterday with the football, and we've got Carl Fogarty winning the opening World Superbike round, Ian McPherson winning the opening World Supersport round. It's looking like a good weekend for the Brits.
Good, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to do the lottery.
Hey, we're going to be proud of ourselves very soon if we're not careful. That'll be a bit of a worry. Ian McPherson then on top of the podium in Kyalami for winning the first ever World Supersport Championship race. Unbelievable. Or maybe not so unbelievable. And a good result for Dunlop as well, of course. Dunlop support a lot of the Supersport riders, so they're going to be happy to see that yellow hat up on the top of Ian McPherson. Well, it certainly made the series interesting as far as Brits are concerned, because the old Supersport race was a bit devoid of interest as far as we were concerned for a while, with the exception of James Toseland, of course. But we're going to get, for the second time today, the British national anthem.
That's it then, as far as the prize giving goes to the victors, the spoils, the honorary guests make a hasty departure, because
as you can hear there from the circuit commentary, that's as much of the national anthem as we're going to get at the moment. We're going to try and get a word with Ian McPherson very, very soon after the champagne, as they prepare themselves now. And they can drink this, of course, because their day's work is done. They only get one race during the day, whereas, of course, the Superbike boys have got 2 races to go. So as Ian McPherson, winner of the World Championship Supersport race, celebrates in style, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be back almost immediately with the second live World Supersport race. See you in a moment. Very well prepared for this season, Jamie, didn't he?
Yeah, I think by the look of it, he looks to have lost a bit of weight off his face, and he did look very fit when he had his sort of leathers down to his waist. I think he's got himself really motivated, and he's seen it as, you know, another challenge, having maybe lost a bit of motivation the last year in British Superbikes, having got a bit, you know, disillusioned, and looks like he's right up for it this year, I think.
Well, we've got some live pictures from Kyalami at the moment. Carl Fogarty's preparing down in pit lane right now. Well, Carl drew first blood in Kyalami, taking the first World Superbike race, his 49th win of the series ever. And Ian McPherson now winning. One feature that I must say that I was very, very impressed with Ian McPherson, the fact that Akira Yanagawa actually came out of pit lane to pat him on the back and thank him.
Yeah, I think it's, at the minute, Kawasaki's not got that much to shout about, and I think they're happy with having, you know, Ian waving the flag a little bit for him.
Now then, if you're looking at that time that's on the bottom of the screen, that's not generated in London, that's generated in South Africa, and of course they're an hour ahead of us, so we've got 15 minutes effectively. It will be 15 minutes past 3 when the second race starts for Superbikes. And I think really we've had a chat about Ian McPherson. Let's go back to Julian now, who can explain just how he won that Supersport race a few minutes ago.
I'll try, Keith. I'm still getting my breath back here. Watch number 12, Ian McPherson, and the pole sitter number 23, Ruben Zaus, the Spaniard, on the Yamaha. It was Zaus who went first into the first right-hander, number 23, but before long, McPherson put it sideways, inside him, overtook him. The Suzuki of Chambon in third. Zaus, though, bit straight back, got him on the fast left-hander. McPherson pushed back to second place. And it wasn't long before Stefan Chambon worked his way through. The little Frenchman on the Suzuki went to the front. In an all-action Superbike race, Zaus then went back to the front on that tight right-hander. It's the favourite overtaking place. And then McPherson in the fast left-hander. Got an outside line on the Spaniard and was there on the inside. And McPherson hit the front, Zhao second, Chambon third, and then this. The Spaniard's front tyre tucked under and he skidded into the sandpit. Here it is from a different angle. Almost looked as if he jacked the front tyre off the ground by grounding the fairing or something. There were a lot of stop-go penalties. Jump starting was the crime. Wilco Zeelenberg was the criminal. He was one of 5 stop-and-go. And now Pirobino, who'd worked his way through the third, found his engine had blown on him. And he got out the way. And meanwhile, Ian McPherson, with a 5-second lead, took the honour of being the first ever winner of a World Championship Super Sport race. Great day for the UK, great day for Scotland. Back to Keith and the guests.
Thank you, Julian. You're absolutely right. It is a great day for Britain and Scotland. Well, we always call them British riders, of course. You'll be familiar with this, Jeremy. When it's you're a British rider if you're anywhere outside of England. You being an Ulsterman and Ian being a Scotsman. I suppose we ought to clarify it, really, hadn't we?
You're a British rider if you're doing well.
Yeah. But you're an Irish rider if you're doing bad, yeah. Well, it's the same goes for the Scots, you know.
So why do you call them Scots?
McPherson, brilliantly there. Can we take any... I mean, I asked the same question about Carl Fogarty when he ran off with the first race this morning on the World Superbike. Can we take anything from that? I mean, the Kawasaki, you commented, Jamie, is quite an old bus nowadays. It's quite a big old thing compared with all the latest tackle that's out there around him. And yet, it looked faster, especially that beautiful manoeuvre down the outside, around that fast left-hand. It looked faster than most of the bikes out there. Is he going to be able to convert that into other racetracks? Is it going to work at other racetracks, do you think?
I think it's going to work at some and maybe not work so well at others, like every other bike, but certainly looked quick today. It did. I mean, saying that, it was up against one of the newest bikes out there, the Yamaha, the newest bike, so maybe that's got more to come, you know, there's more to come from the Yamaha, we don't know, but certainly the Kawasaki looked quick today.
He commented it was a 98 bike he was on, so they haven't even got the 99 stuff yet.
But sometimes that's a retrograde step, you know, sometimes the new stuff you can be waiting for it eagerly, get it, and it's sometimes worse, you know.
OK, looking forward to the second World Superbike race. Fogarty ran off with it in the first one. Is he going to do the same in the second one?
I can't see anybody else stopping him.
Yeah,
Myself.
I think he's going to do it, yeah.
And what about these, we've obviously, for those of you who have just joined us, we are running quite late. We are expecting to start the second Superbike race in just 10 minutes now. And it will be live and, of course, uninterrupted here on Sky. But brake problems. We heard Aaron Slight complaining about brake problems. We covered it a little bit earlier on in the programme, but just to reiterate, what the hell are they going to do if he has got brake problems?
I have to say, I can't believe that a corporation as big as Honda can, you know, say they got brake problems with a bike that's so proven. If the brake's hanging on, like he says it is, you just junk everything, you throw it in the bin and start again with a new set of calipers or whatever, or another make of caliper. When we do it, I went through 3 different makes of caliper or brake sets before the year even started last year to find one that I liked, and as Jimmy says, I mean, he hasn't encountered it. If I had it once, then yeah, we can
have it again.
You don't have it again.
You can't afford to have a simple problem like that. I think the only problem he had was his putting him on a bit early, I think.
Well, he'll be pleased to hear you say that for sure. What about Troy Corser? He said he made a bum choice of tyre in the first race. Is he going to be able to sort that out for the second race? Will he be back on the pace with it?
Yeah, traditionally Troy goes a little bit quicker in the second race, but whether he can do, I mean, he always has a good excuse as well, so...
Well, he's down on down on the grid at the moment. We can see him there waiting for the action to start in Kyalami. We are now just about 8 minutes away from the start of the second World Superbike race of the year. Maybe we can take a look then. It seems like such a long time ago for the first race earlier on today. We were here covering that live as well. Let's take a look at it and see if we can highlight some of the best parts. Carl Fogarty, well, allegedly got a rolling start there. A little bit of consternation in pit lane regarding the start that he got away from the beginning. So Carl Fogarty...
That wasn't even a quarter of a chance in the end.